Hello there, Chris here from Becker's Models. This is part 2 of my Star Wars AT-AT diorama at the Battle of Sullust. In part 1 I repainted and weathered the walker, but in this part 2 video I'm going to show you step by step how I created the base and diorama, including some really cool LED lava effects. Now remember, in all my videos you can skip back and forward using chapters in the play button or the description below. So grab some blue milk or a cup of tea and let's dive in. And what I'm going to do is just a little simple diorama of the AT-AT walking across a field. I'm going to have my little Snowspeeder here and he's going to be crashed like so, probably half buried. And I'll try to put the photo up now, but I'm going to do a Battle of Sullust diorama. If you're not familiar with that, it's in, I think, the Battlefront video game, so it's canon, it's actual, it's real, I'm not making this up. Okay, it's an actual battle, what do you call it, a tournament or something, I don't know, I don't play video games anymore. I don't know what they're called, but they look cool. And yeah, this is basically, it's a volcano planet, it's a lava planet, so this is going to be going through a field of lava. So this is what I've come up with. I've come up with a base around a 8x10 picture frame. I originally was going to go for something smaller, but when I realized what I wanted to achieve with the diorama effect, and I made a diagram of how I wanted to lay things out and the lava flow and putting all the elements in, I realized I need a bigger base. So I actually I built a smaller base first. Let me just take this off and I'll show you what I've done. All I've done is I've created a plastic box that fits inside this 8x10 photo frame. Now it's not glued in, I can take it in and out, and that's actually how you can make it nice and square, is when you cut out the sides, and you'll see I used a piece of styrene rod there on the corners just to reinforce it all. And you also notice that not all this is solid plastic, there's a lot of clear parts for a reason. Yeah, you just put it inside the frame and that keeps it nice and square, and then when I'm finished I'll glue it in. I'll probably put a bottom on. Let me just go around what I've done. Now the top's clear and you can see I've already drawn on it where I'm going to put all my elements, and the sides are clear, and that I've done that for a reason, because we're going to have a lava flow here. I'm going to put LEDs inside the box and diffuse the light and have the light coming through, so the lava is actually glowing a bit, so it's actually got that sort of effect. Hopefully it'll work. I haven't really tested it that way. I had the clear plastic lying around, so I thought, you know, I'll do it anyway. So that's what I've done to start with. Okay, the next elements, I'm using a bit of this blue hard foam instead of just normal styrofoam. I can't remember where I got that, but that cuts out really nicely. And I'm using that for my the major cooled lava flow bits. And then the other material I'm using is some thick cork, and I'll be putting that on the base. The exposed edges come out really nice and rigid, and then I'll be using some thinner cork, this stuff, and cutting that up in very small parts to cover over some of the cooled basalt or lava, what have you. And then the other elements, I'll just be using a little bit of, you can see I've made these sort of blobs here, okay, because as the lava cools over this ridge, you know, it condenses into a blob. I'm going to use some modeling clay, or perhaps for the smaller ones just straight Tamiya putty. So next stage is to get that cork cut out and the base done, and clean up some of the edges and some other things, and build up that diorama. The major parts are down on the base. As you can see there, I've used that blue foam on the sides here to make the lava ridges. I've got the thicker cork on the main piece where the AT-AT's going to stand. This gap here is going to be the lava flow, and this smaller piece, thinner piece, that's where I'm going to have the Snowspeeder crashing. I should have actually laid down the thick cork here and then just another thin one here, because where I've put these marks, these long lines, I'm actually going to thin that out. So the next process is starting to build up the effects on the layers here. I'm going to open up this hole a little bit more so I can really get that Snowspeeder crashing into the lava. I've made the cuts here in the hole so you'll see some stuff coming out hopefully. So yeah, let's get to the next stage. So I've begun texturing the bottom, and as you can see I've made these striations, cut these grooves where next to the lava flow, on here, and on this side I've added another piece here just to balance it out a little bit. You can see I've just added another lava flow piece there, okay, just to make it a little bit tighter. And just here This is what it's going to look like when finished, I think, more or less. I've added some extra rocks and sort of a rock flow here, and just using basic Tamiya putty that replicates some cooled lava bits. Very easy to do. And so I will be doing that, and I've done it across the Snowspeeder crash side here. It's going to add a few more little rocks. And then what I've done here is I've cut up the cork, this thin stuff, into little squares and things, and I'm just using my little tray here. And yeah, I'm just layering it down so it's an uneven surface. Alright, and you can see I've started here, I've got a bit of a bulge here going down, and that's just PVA glue and a bit of super glue just to get it to sit to the solid cork. Once that's gone off, I'll do the same thing that I did over here with the rocks, and I'll add more rock textures and things, particularly up against the side of the ridges here. And yeah, then pretty much that's all done. The other effects I need to do is the lava, which I'm just about to start experimenting. I think I'll use some gloss medium or something like that, tinted with a bit of red. Let's see how I go. The base is ready for priming. You can see I've done a fair bit more there. Just a quick overview. I've filled in the top half here with the ground effects. That's all textured in nicely with the nice dry putty. On this side I've decided to actually just glue the Snowspeeder in, so he's smashed in there, and I've modified and done a few carved away a few pieces and some damage on the Snowspeeder, and I've added extra rocks where it's come out there, so that's a nice little crash site. And then the last thing is I've masked the clear area, and also on the side, so there's going to be a bit of a spill on the side as well. So time to mask, and I'm going to use my favourite, which is Stynel Res, and it's an acrylic, so it shouldn't burn through this blue rubber stuff like a lacquer thinner, lacquer based primer will, hopefully. So let's get to it. I'm going to paint the Snowspeeder. I'll just start with a little bit of MRP Light Arctic Grey, and then I'll do a lot of hand painting because there's a few panels that need to be sorted out. I'm using the 1/48 scale Bandai Snowspeeder here. It's got some great box art there. I use that as a main reference, but I'll add a bit more scorch marks and so forth. So in 1/44 scale it's a bit hard to get that sort of detail, but I'll try my best. And yeah, you can see there's going to be some overspray there, but that's okay because I'm going to be covering the entire lava flow with different blacks and dark greys, so it doesn't matter so much. In fact, most of these rocks that'll be exposed here will be a light grey or a dark grey anyway. So let me just finish this off. Alright, I've base coated the Snowspeeder down here in the corner, and while I'm at it, I'm going to get started on adding some black and grey textures to the base. So I'm using Life Colour paints here. They're really good acrylic paints. They dry nice and flat. This is part of their black series, but I've also got a Panzer Uniform in there and a few others. Burnt Black, Matte Black, Cockpit, which is basically a grey, and what else we got? Worn Black. So I'm going to try to do different layers here and there. It's going to be still fairly stark, as Penny the dog. Hello, Penny. She's not impressed in the corner there. Just going to use a few flat brushes there, dry brushes, but I'll do some detail painting to highlight some of the panels on the Snowspeeder according to the references I've got there, and then I'll start to give it a wash and a few other things. And then we can get stuck on the lava. I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I've got a couple of brews that I've worked out what to do, including some backlighting. So let's get stuck into it. So I've used the matte black to do most of the shadows and the crevices and so forth. Now I'm using a burnt black. I'm just going to dry brush and try to do the top here of these massive ridges these are the slabs of lava that come down. You can see on the reference photos. I'll see if I can pop a reference photo up there while I'm painting. So I'm just doing it's a sort of a dry brush, sort of just a covering over the surfaces. I'm just trying to break it up a bit with the colours, and yeah, it's got sort of a brownish, purplish tint to it. This burnt black, and I'm just hoping that it's going to come out this way, just to change things up a bit. I'm going to have to do a final dry brush with a grey, and I don't want the grey to be too sort of, you know, Verlinden style dry brush, if you get what I mean. I want it to have some sort of a subtle effect, but yeah, how subtle can you get with lava? Alright, let me just keep going with this. Am I still in camera shot? Yeah, I am. Great. Now again, I'm using these light color acrylics because they dry nice and matte, and they're true, well, not true acrylics, if you know what I mean. If you check out my video up here, I'll put a link if I can on the difference between acrylics and lacquers. It's just the binder in this case for the life color is quite benign. It's not going to eat into anything that I've already done here. When I come to the lava, I'm going to be using lacquer paints, and I'm going to be very careful, especially around here, that I don't paint onto any of the foam, because the lacquer will just eat straight through it. The next black I'm going to use is Panzer Uniform, which has got a bit of a, not a gloss, but it's a bit of a shiny sort of black, because you know the you know what's like to have their troopers all in nice shiny black uniforms. So I'm going to try to do that on this lava flow where the AT-AT is actually going to be. So I'll see if this actually does anything, because you know, 50 shades of black, none of this is probably showing up on the camera, but we'll just see. So I'm just going to try to paint over the black Steinor res, which is dried really nicely over all the materials I've used. I've used cork, and I've used foam, and what else have I used? Oh, and lots of putty, lots of Tamiya putty. So, which is basically what I'm painting over right now. So that's seems to be working. Let me just keep going. Alright, I've gone ahead and used the worn black, and that's almost a brown actually. It's a browny grey black sort of thing, and I've done that on some of the raised edges in the middle here and along the edge. So now we go for the grey or deep cockpit. A deep cockpit is sort of a grey, sort of a dark grey with a blue tint to it. I'm going to be using it very sparingly here, so on camera, why not? Let's just do it. So this is true dry brushing. I'm taking off most off camera. I'm taking off most of the material off the brush. Let's see what I get. So on the highest sort of points, starting to get a bit of an effect there. I'm probably doing where the AT-AT legs are going to be, so you're not going to see it, but you know, got to add that effect. Yeah, it's starting to work. I'm going to have to swing this around so I can actually see what it's doing to the other side. The next stage, I'm going to light up the lava from beneath with some LEDs. What I've made here is a 7 LED circuit just running off a battery coin, so it's only a 3-volt circuit with a simple on-off switch. Just 3 volt, it's not that powerful. It may not be enough, maybe need to go to a 9 volt. I've done it so I can upgrade, so if it doesn't work I can do that. But I think it's enough. What I've done is the clear surface where the lava is going to go, you can see it's got that milky look now. I've frosted it to diffuse the light, because the problem with LEDs, using a system like this, or even using an LED strip, which I could have used as well, is you'll get points of light, and hopefully this is enough to diffuse it. So what I'll do, and I experimented with another piece over here with some various compounds and various diffusions and what have you, is I'm probably going to spray some Tamiya smoke underneath just to make it a little bit even darker. So we'll see how it goes. What I've done is I've got a piece of plastic card here. I've just outlined you can see that, I've outlined the, upside down Miss Jane, it's actually this way. The number's the other way. So I've got an LED under the crash Snowspeeder, and I've got a series underneath the lava. And what I've done is underneath here is I've just created a little bracket where I can just slip this in, doesn't even need to be glued, and I just poke the LED, which is in a little styrene tube, through there like that. So I can adjust it as required. I can increase the height if I want to. If I want to get closer, or a bit, if the points are too far, you know, they're standing out too much, I'll pull it back a bit. So the lights are on and installed underneath, as you can see, and while I've got it, you can see I've got some Tamiya X19 smoke. I'm just going to cover this to increase the diffusion a bit more. Here comes the fun bit, time to pour some lava. What I've done is I've used a bit of Tamiya clear red, okay, with just a touch of the clear yellow, but I've mixed that into some gloss medium. This is the Liquitex gloss medium, okay, and they'll provide the volume. Now that's milky, as you can see it's quite, but it dries to a clear, so when you put the mix together it does look a little bit sort of, I wouldn't say pink, but I have added a little bit of smoke in there just to give it a little bit more richness, because I reckon I can make that pop a little bit more, because the next piece in the arsenal is this very weird and wonderful colour from Mr. Colour, if you can read that, fluorescent red. It's really more of a pink. Okay, and I intend to brush paint that on the sides for that, and also underneath the feet of the AT-AT. So here we go, it's time to start pouring. Now before I go any further, I've got to remember to put in some extra pieces, and look at that, I've already spilt it onto the I will leave it there, why not? Now what I've done is I've painted up a few pieces of charred off or cooled lava that's going to go in here. That's what those lines are for. So I'm just going to pop them in and then try to pour the Liquitex around it. So I've added the pieces of, that's just the very thin cork, which I've just modified to make it look like cooled lava bits just that have come off. Hopefully it's enough, it looks alright to me. So let's continue pouring this lovely lava brew. Alright, let's do these lava flows here. So it's going to be interesting to see if this material eats up the foam. So what I'm doing now is, after the medium gloss has nicely solidified to make my lava flow, I'm just going to change the colour up a bit with a bit more intensity, a bit more red. The Rosso here is a little bit of duller red, which is good, because some of the parts are a little bit too clear, you can see too much through, so I'm just using that to dull it down. I'm going to use the Tamiya gloss red to make it a bit brighter, and then I'm going to come in with the big guns. So I've hit the edges of the lava stream with some of that gloss red, and I've highlighted some of the bits here. Now I'm going to try to do this fluoro, so I might try up on the ridges here first. I'll just move this out of the way. See how I've hit that lava flow up there, it's nice and glossy red. I'm going to try that with the fluoro first, and if it doesn't work I can always spray over it. So it looks like the fluoro red has really helped there. I've edged it onto the edges there of the flow, okay, up against the black rocks. So we're getting a nice contrast there, and just a little bit down the middle, and yeah, it's really starting to pop on those ridges there. It's really actually, from the angle I'm seeing, it's coming alive. Alright, I've got one more paint up the up my sleeve to try out, and that's fluorescent orange. Ooh, might be a bit too much. Let's see what happens. I don't know what I'm trying to do here. So you can kind of see I'm hitting these edges here where it's starting to dry and get crusty up against the cold lava, I guess you could say. And yeah, it's really making it pop. You can probably just see that on camera. I'll try to go around this way. I don't want to go everywhere, but I want to get it where there's a bit of contrast. So I'll just keep going with that. With those effects laid down, I think I've done enough. I might do a bit more dry brushing later on. We'll see how I go when I put the AT-AT on top. The last thing I'm going to do is put a clear coat on, and I'm going to use some clear yellow. I've already started on this side. I think I'll just give it another richness of layer. So I'll just put that on as a nice thick gloss coat. Thanks for staying through to the end here. I had a lot of fun and I learned a lot on how to create a diorama. I haven't done many of these, so I hope you've got something out of this video as well. Now don't hesitate, ask some questions below or leave a comment, and of course subscribe so you can see more of my Star Wars and other sci-fi stuff that I really love to do. I've got a big playlist of models from over the years that you can check out. So thanks again, happy modeling, until next time, cheers.